Hey guys, good afternoon. Jason here with Phastek.com, and I'm in Waco, Texas with David Vassar, the owner of Nitrous Outlet. And today we're going to talk about nitrous. A lot of questions people have about nitrous. We're going to cover today with Dave. We're going to talk about some of the products that he has and some what it will do for you and your vehicles. Dave has been a great supporter of Phastek.com. We've done a lot of stuff with Dave here. He gave us, we did a nitrous kit on our white car, which y'all have seen that. But today we have a lot of questions we're going to ask for Dave. So first question we're going to answer for you guys is, Dave, what is nitrous and what does it do?
Nitrous is 2 parts oxygen, 1 part nitrogen. It's there to help burn more fuel to make more power. So as the molecule breaks down in the combustion chamber, the nitrogen is going to act as a coolant, and the oxygen is going to help burn more fuel.
So, one of the misconceptions about nitrous is it's dangerous. I'm logged in, guys, so if y'all have any comments or questions, let's answer them for you today, so that way we can make you feel more comfortable about what nitrous is. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my volume down here. Why is everybody afraid of nitrous?
I don't think everybody's afraid of nitrous, but I think that there's definitely a customer base or people that are misinformed on it.
I agree.
Nitrous is like any power adder. If it's done wrong, it's going to cost you a motor. I think nitrous attracts some of the guys that don't want to do it properly, and they want to take the less expensive way out. If you look at like a boosted application, you already know going into it that it's going to be a significant expense. Yeah. With nitrous, you can piece it together, and so you could actually buy just the main kit, for depending on what you buy, but you could buy like an X series system for $500. Yeah. And so these guys see that and they think, wow, $500, I can make 150, 200 horsepower like that. And they will go about doing that without the safety items and the accessories. And a lot of times they don't even change the spark plugs, or they don't pay for it to be tuned. So it attracts some of the inexperienced and uneducated customer base.
And I agree with you 100% on that. And that's, I've run nitrous for years. And one of the things, I'm a firm believer in not spraying on a button. Right. That's, with me, it's like, if we don't have a safety thing like an RPM switch, which would be your WinMax, that's a great product. And if a lot of people go ahead, why don't you tell them about the WinMax? Tell them what it does and tell them why they need the WinMax.
For one, all your late model EFI cars no longer are cable driven. They're electronic driven at throttle body. The WinMax has a built-in TPS activation, which reads the wide open throttle, because you want the nitrous system to activate at wide open throttle. And it has a RPM activation and deactivation switch, so that you can set it to start spraying at a certain RPM and to shut off at a certain RPM. So for one, if the car was to bog or lag, it makes sure, so let's say we set it to activate at 3,000 RPMs, make sure we have enough cylinder speed built up.
Correct.
So now the system activates. Well, you have a Rev Limiter on the car, and so Rev Limiter most time cuts fuel supply. So what we'll do is we'll take and set it to shut off 300 RPMs before Rev Limiter. So normally your shift point is set, 300-400 RPMs before Rev Limiter. So it's just make sure the nitrous system is off if it tags Rev Limiter. So if you miss a shift or tranny slips or rear end brakes, it just takes away. It's cheap insurance. It takes away that. A lot of people think, well, I'm never going to make a mistake. Well, sometimes mechanical, something may break, and I'm going to tell you that I've been in cars where I thought, I'm not going to make a mistake. Right. And it happens, so it's just cheap insurance.
It is. It really is. And the other thing, too, is like, as you get farther into nitrous, though, it's, those are things you look at. I guess one of the main questions is, do I need a tune? Right. And, what system do I go with? So, like, you take your normal guy that's just, street driver, basic street car for the most part, I think a lot of misconceptions that people get is, do I need to have a tune? Sometimes you can get away, and I'm throwing this out there, okay? And don't take me on this completely, but there's a lot of cars that I've put nitrous on and I've just done a one-step colder plug and I run a 100 shot on it and I've had zero issues. Now, at the same time though, you know, I don't abuse the car. You know, I don't hot lap it and I don't run it to death and then try to, you know, spray it. But you know, that's another misconception that, you know, people think that if you have to have a nitrous kit, at what level do you feel like they really need to start doing a tune?
You know, that's a trick question. Think about the cars that have came from the factory that you hooked up to that had knock retard from the factory.
Yeah.
So what happens whenever you get one of those cars and somebody on the internet told you, you don't need a tune.
Right.
And you don't have the software to look and see.
Yeah.
So taking it to someone to tune. Not only that, if you don't have a wideband or anything on the car, you know, the jetting that comes with the system is nothing more but a suggested start point.
Right.
And it's important that you verify the air fuel and that you've put a non-projected tip, you know, coder plug in it. And some of these cars are very conservative on the tune from the factory.
Yeah.
But then you might get one that has knock retard and you had that same mindset and it's going to cost you a motor.
Yeah. I particularly, I'm a fan of nitrous. You know, another question we've had from our some of our viewers when we asked about, you know, we're going to put this out there is, how long does a bottle last?
You know, there's actually a formula we work off of.
Is there? Okay.
For one, I guess it depends on how much you like to purge.
No, damn, you can purge a whole bottle real quick.
You're going to use 1 pound per every 10 seconds per 100 horsepower. That's the formula we work off of to figure out what the use is going to be.
Gotcha.
Obviously, the more nitrous you're spraying, the less it's going to work. Now, guys that are fairly new to nitrous, they think, well, I still got 3 pounds left in the bottle. And they don't understand why the performance goes away. Well, you'll have that head pressure on the gauge, but as soon as the solenoid opens, there's no volume there to support it.
Right.
So you're not going to be able to use, if you had a 10-pound bottle, you're not going to be able to use all 10 pounds. You know, by the time you get halfway to 3/4 of the way down, it's time to fill it.
Yeah. You know, the third question we got is, what other mods do I need before adding nitrous?
I mean, to be honest with you, it's a lot of things that people overlook are going to be fuel demand.
Yeah.
And that's with any performance mod. They go at it to make more horsepower. Well, you got to have fuel to support it. But these cars straight from the factory, I mean, depending on the platform, it's pretty common, like on a late model GM application, spray 150 shot on it. You're going to need to, most of the time, remove some timing, put a coder plug in it.
Yeah.
And that's about the extent of it. And then you're going to get into some cars where it needs fuel.
Right.
And so as far as engine component work, depending on how much nitrous you're trying to put at it, but it's really common. Even I mean, back like in the 90s with the V6 Camaro, I mean, we're spraying that thing with 100 shot.
Yeah.
We told everybody don't spray more than 75, you know, but I mean, we were beating on those cars. And then it was really common to spray 300 on the stock LS, but if you called here, we told you don't spray more than 150.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's, for one, it comes down to your tuning ability and being able to know what those signs are of what it needs.
Right. Exactly. You know, I see, you know, another question, I guess, real quick is, you know, I think you kind of answered this a second ago with how big of a shot can I run? You know, stock, you know, if you're taking like basically, let's say OEM piston car for the most part.
Right.
You know, what do you suggest, 150 shot?
Yeah, 150 kind of is really the suggested sweet spot on pretty much any of your domestic V8 applications these days. Are there people doing more? Yes, but if you wanted to say, hey Dave, what's my sweet spot where I can make great amount of horsepower for my daily driver and have fun, we're going to tell you 150. You get into some of the compact cars, you know, you're talking 50 to a 75 shot.
Does anyone run just got a couple? I used to run a 250 shot. Hey Joe, separate fuel system, TNT kit, plus a window switch. Yeah, you got to have that window switch. Guys, if you're watching this right now, if you got any questions for us, feel free to send them to us. We're paying attention right now. If you got any questions about, you know, I got a perfect question. What's that? So, how much nitrous can an LT1 hold with enough fuel and good air fuel at wide open throttle?
What was the question?
LT1. How much nitrous can an LT1 hold with enough fuel and good air? Hey Joe, is that stock or modified, or is that piston car? You know, because you know with with stock pistons, I mean, I've seen guys all day long running like E85 with the 150 shot on the street all day long, beating it, and I haven't seen them blow anything up. So I mean, if that helps answer your question as far as that goes, I hope that does. But that's what I've seen.
Right. No, that's what they call here. As a manufacturer, we're here to push the conservative side of things.
Yeah.
Your customers are going to, as they do that and they become more familiar with their platform, they're going to push areas, and we guide them through that, but they have to venture out.
They do.
On that.
Two-step colder plug also. Just throw that out there also. It wasn't running stock plugs on that one. It's two-step colder plug, So that's, you're welcome, Joe. What comes in your nitrous kits?
So our base system is going to come with, you can get it with or without a bottle. You can pick, a 10 pound, 12 pound, 15 pound bottle. It's going to have your solenoids. If it's a plate system, it's going to have your EFI plate. Mm-hmm. If it's a single nozzle, it'll have a nozzle that goes in the air tube. It's going to have everything as far as the mechanical components for your basic system.
Right.
And then you're going to pair it up with, do you want a progress controller or do you want a window switch? Yep. What style bottle heater do you want? Your purge. So it's kind of like building to fit your needs.
Yeah.
And one guy may want a billet bottle bracket, while the next guy just wanted the standard clamps. Mm-hmm. So do I need a dedicated fuel system? All those things kind of build as you go, but it's going to start with your basic system.
Gotcha. All right, man. So we covered the questions that some of the viewers asked beforehand, just to kind of cover some of that stuff for you guys. So now let's talk about the kits that you offer for, like, obviously we do Camaro, so the Camaro specific kits, as far as like, the 6th gen or the 5th gen kits, those are pretty well engineered kits. You got the little plate system for the most part, you got the dash 6 lines that come with it, you got 10 pound, 15 pound bottle. I mean, which one do you recommend when it comes to something like that though? That's a big question too. That's a big question too, is like what bottle do you choose? 10 pound, 15 pound bottle, is it all just on space? Or is it, go ahead.
It's going to have a lot to do with space. The most common bottle that we sell is a 10 pound bottle. If you have the space and you're running around, you're not in a defined area, let's say it's your street cruiser, mm-hmm. A lot of guys will do a 15 so it'll last longer. The system component wise, back in the day, EFI single nozzle was kind of all that was available to the market.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was 2004, 2003, we introduced the EFI plates to the market, which this is a good example here on a LT4. It comes with a plate that bolts between the throttle bodies, and instead of having a single discharge, you have 6 nitrous and 6 fuel, and we're saturating the air intake charge and just letting the motor do its natural job and pull it in. So we were able to start introducing more nitrous into the engine without going direct port by doing the EFI plate. We kind of concentrate on the higher end of things. So like whenever the customer gets the product from us, the solenoid's already attached to a solenoid bracket, the fittings are already Loctited in place. Literally all they have to do is bolt the plate on, mount the solenoids, and put the hard lines in. We hardly ever sell a single nozzle anymore. We also offer the universal plates with braided hoses, and we hardly ever sell those anymore either because people like the simplicity of the install and the cleanness of it. A lot of the cars now are coming with blowers, like your ZL1.
Yeah.
And then your older stuff, your LSA and your LS9. Boost and Juice is a program that we have here, and we do a lot of boosted nitrous. We have a lot of blowers come through here where we're putting spray bars in them. We offer plates like this one right here. This plate here bolts between the lid and the lower blower. We partnered up with ProCharger this year. I mean, who's ever heard of a nitrous company and a boosted company working together?
Yeah, right? You don't hear that, right?
And that's because we have a lot of mutual customers that are doing both. They have a blower on the car and they have nitrous on it. The great thing about nitrous is, especially with these stock blowers, when they start, you're spinning them hard and they start becoming less efficient and they start creating heat. Well, we can give better atmosphere in there with nitrous. And then you got guys that instead of putting the bigger blower on their daily driver, they can just stay with the blower they have and put a little bit of nitrous on it. The car's more consistent, and they're not having to beat the snot out of it every day when they're driving it.
Yeah.
So the drivability is a little better.
Completely. Hey, got a couple more questions here. Let's look at this one here, Keith. Trying something on a wheelie control sensor, better to have it break wide open throttle signal or to have it pull timing, which one would be better?
On our shop car, we have a drag radial car, and a lot of our customers' cars, we're using the wheelie sensor. It's laser ride height, and it's just measuring, what he's talking about is measuring the distance from the ground. And as that car is transitioning on the launch, it's measuring that. And so what we do is we take out timing to settle the car down.
Yeah. Another one is Joe. How come I'm quoted $4,700 to install a kit? That's what AMP and 21st Century quoted me. It takes 4 to 6 hour install. LME quoted, built my 402.
You're not going to do a proper nitrous install in 4 to 6 hours. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
If anybody tells you that they can do a proper nitrous install in 4 to 6 hours, you probably need to run.
Yeah.
Bolting, our product line is really designed around more of a bolt-on OEM fitment. And so we've taken a lot of the struggle out there, but these late model cars, you got to take this apart to get this apart.
Yeah.
And, there's just so much stuff to come apart. And not only that, the wiring, in all honesty, a wiring job to do a nice clean wiring job, that's 16 hours minimum.
Yeah. My white car took me literally 2 days to wire it. But when you look in the car, you don't see anything. When you look through my engine compartment, you see the solenoids, but you don't see any of the wiring.
Right.
And the other thing too is making sure you're sourcing the right wire. That's another big thing too. It's like, guys, whenever you're putting these kits together, you're not running 18 gauge wire. So you're dealing with thicker wire. So some of that takes up a lot of space. And if you're going to run it right, if the shop is a quality shop like 21st Century AMP, most likely they're going to loom it.
Yeah, they're going to do it. I've seen a lot of these guys wiring installs, and the guys that charge more do less wiring nitrous installs, and they probably don't want to do it anyways, to be honest with you,
right?
Because it is so time consuming. But they're going to charge for their time because they could be working on something else to make money and pay the bills. Then selling themselves short on the wiring. Wiring is the most important part of the nitrous install because you can have a great quality product, but if the wiring's not right, it's not going to work right.
That's correct.
And so that brings us to the wiring harness that we have over here. We offer plug and play harnesses for a lot of these cars, which come with do-it-style connectors, and it's got the correct gauge wire. It's a drop-in plug and play setup. And that's great for the guy that wants to do it himself or he doesn't have a shop close. And then some shops actually buy these harnesses just so that they can get the install done quicker. So they'll get the upsell of selling the harness, and then they don't have to charge so many man hours of having their guy on it because, in order to have a quality technician out there working on it, you're going to have to pay a quality paycheck. And that's so true. You have to pass that expense on to your customer. And what a lot of people don't realize with wiring is a lot of technicians are really great at working on something, but wiring's not their cup of tea.
Right.
So everybody's kind of got their own way of doing it.
Well, exactly. Like, if you're putting a switch panel in, if you don't have a wiring harness and you have to put this switch panel in, well then you got to run, if you're going to run through the dash, you're going to run through the firewall, or you're going to have to pull some panels apart to move it and put it in place. And then the thing is, if you put wiring, if you're putting wiring behind it, you got to put everything back together. So the install on nitrous can be a little bit more expensive, depending on who's doing it, obviously. Now, obviously, with something like this here, this knocks down a full day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I look at it.
He said 46 hours, and I'm thinking, you're still looking at 8 hours on the install just because you have to tear the car apart. And these late model cars, you don't want somebody out there breaking the tabs on the back of the body panels and stuff. You want somebody that knows what they're doing. It's going to take their time taking it apart and putting it back together.
Exactly. The other thing, plumbing on the systems, they're probably the easier part of the install.
Oh yeah, I mean, like bolting the bottle brackets in, and I mean, we've already taken all the guesswork away on that.
You have. I mean, and a perfect example is just like like this plate kit here. I mean, you basically give everybody everything they need. You're going to give them the hoses. You're going to give them the plate. You know, everything. The plumbing side, when we did on our 16 Camaro, hours. We knocked it out in hours. Like I said, where it came into play was definitely the wiring, and obviously, you know, we wired the kit ourselves, so you have to make sure you're using the correct, you know, the correct size wire. And plus, we weren't using butt connectors either.
Right.
We're soldering the stuff together, you know, so the installs is a little bit more tedious.
You know, one thing it does save, if you think about whenever I was younger, you would order something, right, and you got it, and it never fit.
Yeah.
But even with the nitrous system, some of the first nitrous systems I did, it was up to you to decide where you were going to mount the solenoids and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, the difference is we bring the cars in, we already have all that figured out, so you got your only Saturday off of the month, right? And you get it and you're like, well, crap, this hose is too short. And this is the only place I can run. So now you had to order fittings and hoses, you got all these extra expenses, and you just ruined your weekend because you can't finish it.
You ain't got no little brackets laying around here. You know what I'm talking about? The little solenoid brackets?
Yeah, the universals. No, they're not in this area, but
yeah. If you couldn't get that to work, you're making your own bracket.
Exactly.
You know? And that could take you all day.
Exactly.
You know? So I removed those days. Those were definitely a pain in the butt, you know? I'm glad those days are over with. So we don't really have any more questions, man, for the most part. Let me see if I got anything else on my list over here. We already covered, you know, what nitrous is, what nitrous does. You talked about the blower stuff. You talked about how, you know, you guys with the LSAs, you know, if you don't want to go and step up to a Whipple or something bigger like that, bigger supercharger, you know, this is something you can go with, you know, especially if you're taking your car to the track. There's a lot of guys out there with the LSAs that are running these cars at the track. They're not up in the boost as much and creating all that heat because they're spraying it on top, you know, spraying on what boost level that they have, and they're running great times and good numbers. You know?
It'll actually increase the boost because of the better air too.
Exactly.
So.
You know. So, man, that's really about it for the most part, guys. I want to thank you for hanging out with us today, Dave. Thank you so much for letting us come out.
Love showing you all around.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing, guys. Just so you know, we bought that 2010 Camaro. We're revamping that thing, and we bought it. It's got like 71,000 miles on it. So what we're doing on that car is we're gonna put a Nitrous Outlet Kit on there. So be painted, you know, be watching some of our videos coming out. We're kind of show you how to do the install. That way you know where to plug in, what to do, how to plumb the system, where to run the lines. So that's some videos that we'll probably have coming out within the next several months. So, you know, pay attention to our YouTube channel for that. We'll also let Dave know about that. And I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us today.